lie. I be rolling with you, mommy, I be feeling the motion. When I'm inside you, I be deep as the ocean. When it comes to your love, can't lie, it be strong as a potion. That's why me and you forever be coasting. Let's roll. Co-pilot on the passenger side, be so fly. Yeah, she so lit, we so high. Just me and my chick, yeah. Just me and my chick, yeah. Co-pilot.
Yo, what's up, y'all? What's going on? It's your boy, man, and we back with another one, y'all. This is Sparking Conversation, and I am your boy, Ra1. And tonight, we're going to do like we always do. You know what we do? We talk to some of the world's most interesting people. And to really even let y'all know exactly what's going on tonight is that we have a follow-up, right? Tonight is a follow-up show. And what that means is that we have Mr. Lane Simons back on the show. And I know earlier we had on the show earlier in the year, and she was talking about her foster son and his unalivement due to the hands of the police department, right? So as we were having that conversation, it was just like a lot of the other impacted families that we've had on the show, right? Um, Very seldom did they even have hope for justice. They just continued to fight, right? With that thought process, I mean, I guess we can say with the hope of them, somebody being brought to justice, that something will happen. Although the track record of how police unalivements have been happening, nothing has been happening to the police officers. They've been able to do exactly what they've been doing, and nothing has happened. And so now we have uh, something that we can actually look at and say, hold on for a second, all right? Hopefully, this is the snowball effect of how this can continue to keep moving so we won't continue to have a whole bunch of unnecessary police unalivings through civilians, right? So before we bring her up and we get into what's going on now, get into the whole factor of like the arraignment, the trial, a lot of the details that took place, we're gonna chop it up and we're gonna get into that, right? But before we do that, I like to say, like I always do, thank you to all the people that download the audio version of this podcast. Thank you so much, y'all, because y'all really helping your boy move this thing around. And it's really, really fly to know that out here in the world, all over the world, that we really are reaching these people. And they're so interested in the stories that we tell on here. So that says a lot, right? When you have a platform, and I'm approaching my 100th show. Today is the 91st show. Okay, just to be completely clear with y'all. So we on the road to 100 shows. So that means that we've just been continuously staying consistent. And I hope that just inspires people, right? Because I know how people look at it. They might look at it and say, yo, you know what I mean? You know, it ain't this and it ain't that yet. It ain't where it need to be and all this other stuff. And I'm telling people like, yo, like anything, you just gotta put in the work. If you put in the work and you just really stay focused on the work, you don't really have to worry about too much of what it looks like to people. You just gotta make sure that you got the quality, right? So again, thank you so much to the people that download the audio version of this podcast. Again, y'all the real MVPs. Double salute to y'all. Okay. All right. So double salute to all of y'all that click the links in the description too, because yo, that's what we talking about. I want to make sure that people understand. You got to change the way you think up here if you want to change the way you live in. Don't be complaining about AI and all these other things and your job and all these other things when you know that you have an opportunity right now to get in front of it. You have the opportunity right now to be in control of your financial situation and your financial freedom. You just got to be willing to change the way you think up here, right? So what that means is that use money for what it's for. Money is a tool that you need to use to make more money. It's not for saving. It's not for spending as much as people try to make it out to be. But we use money to make more money. That's the tool. That's the whole gauge. And far be it that people want to sit up here and worry about, oh, I don't want to be rich and all this other stuff. All right, boom. That's not what it's about. It's about whether you want your freedom or not. Because if not, if you're going to have to be relying on the government after y'all see what's going on in this circus right now, For them to be responsible for how you live and how you maintain, that's what you want in your life? I don't think so. So what I'm saying to you is that get ahead of it, start learning about investment. Why not get some free stocks? That way you can at least learn about it. And then when you get comfortable enough to start putting your own money in it where you need it to go, and you put it in there. And then I know some people they be talking about my age right now. I ain't worried about. Listen, look, you long as you living every day, that's what you need to worry about. You can't worry about tomorrow. You gotta live for today. So in today, you using money to make money, and that's just what it is. All right. So double salute to y'all. It is a link in the description for those of y'all that want to get out there and start getting some free stuff right now. You get free stocks right now, and then from there learn about it and keep going. Same thing. I mean, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling y'all that this is sparking conversation, and this is what we do. We give it out to the people. This ain't about gatekeeping, right? All right, let's get down to it, y'all, right? Because I know what the hot topic is going around. Now, first of all, the hot topic that was going around all week has been going on with the Democratic Party. We know that. In and out, your boy Sleepy Joe is out of there. Then they threw Shorty up in there, right? So now she in there. So however that's gonna go, that's just gonna go. All right, y'all. I'm not even here. Y'all know this ain't a political platform, but we gotta talk about everything up here, right? So we know that. But that ain't what it is. What it is for me is that I'm really, really want you guys to pay attention to the signs of that they're trying to force a civil war for what? Now, kind of think about that, y'all. Like, why are they doing that? Because now, in the middle of election season, right? Now, the police have just started to turn back up again. So now they turn it back up with this whole thing, and now we have another major unaliving of a young lady in her home, minding her business, complying each and every, direction that was given to her, and now she's not here no more. And then it was done brutally, and then had the nerve to be recorded. And then whoever put the body cam footage out there, not like saying it ain't supposed to be out there, but the way that it was done and the effect of it and the anger and the emotion that sent out here across the world, um it just seems like to me, and I'm just saying, I just want y'all to pay attention. It's like it seemed like this is done on purpose because there was no reason for this to happen to this lady, right? Now, why I'm speaking about it in this manner, right? Unlike other times, and I want y'all to know the whole time the comments are wide open. All right. So those of y'all that's watching live, and those of y'all that want to watch the playback, when y'all do, remember y'all throw y'all comments in there, and you can join in the conversation. But to be a civilian nowadays, what does that actually mean? Right? Like, what does it actually mean to be a tax paying, law abiding citizen? What does that mean in this day and age right now in the United States of America? What does that mean? Because for me, I don't understand. For me, it doesn't mean. It seemed like it doesn't mean nothing. It seemed like somebody knows something that we don't know about us, to where this type of thing can happen. This young lady, Sonia Massey, was in her home, right? The police came there. She did everything they told her to do. And as a matter of fact, even when it came down to him trying to protect her home, so it seemed like she gets unalive. Now, what if she'd have just been like, "No, don't worry about that. It's not gonna burn. Let it burn." Like, how long was you planning to be there for her food to burn anyway? So this is crazy to me, yo. Right? It's because why is that it? And I want to know from all of you police officers out here that are responsible for taking the lives of unarmed civilians, knowing that you had the option with all these little utilities you got on your belt. Y'all walk around like Batman already. Y'all got mad shit on your belt that y'all could use to not. Y'all the real crime fighters. Like, think about it. Batman just rich. Y'all ain't rich. Oh, my bad. So because y'all ain't rich, y'all want to use some of y'all other gadgets? Y'all mad? Like, come on, B. Y'all got mad stuff on y'all that y'all can use that don't have to involve lethal force for you to use the whole defense that you be in fear of your life. Because there's no way you gonna tell me you was in fear. This young lady had you in no type of fear. Now, let's not talk about just her because we understand she knew and this has just happened and this is crazy. But think about all the other names of the people and the parents and the moms and the families that have to live with this reality that don't make national news, that don't make the body cam footage. Just certain people that I've had on this platform who's still waiting on the body cam footage, yo. And at that, and to be honest with you, it's even mad crazy because certain states got statutes of limitation. So they drag people out past that, and they still can't get what they need to try to help get some justice for their family, yo. That for the average person, the news and everybody else can paint this picture of the victim as if they deserve what happened to them. And you can't tell me that a person that walks around with the Batman belt on, who got mad other ways that he can do whatever he need to do to make sure that this situation don't wind up where nobody don't go home to their family ever again but you. How can you sleep at night, Mr. Officer? It's my question, right? Word. So you don't have no family, Mr. Officer? Like, yo, like you ain't nobody that you love that you don't understand that if this would have happened to you, like, yo, if it's on purpose and somebody gave you the order, how was you gonna take that order that this is what you're gonna do this day? And then on top of all of these other people, and tonight's show, that's why tonight's show is so important because now we have a situation where this has happened to young Jesse Saray, right? And we talked about this before early in the year. I told you all that. And then it was up in the air about how this was going on. It was going through jury selection and all these other things. Now, mind you, it has been countless unalivings by the police, by other people that I've had on the platform who can't even get in there to have a trial, can't even get to listen. They still trying to get all the evidence over something that they tried to say was the reason why they did it, but they won't show them why. You can't give them the evidence. This body cam footage. It's so much body cam footage that I've seen on this show that we've had of parents who got access to body cam footage. We knew when we talked about Derek, when we talked about him and the body cam footage of the police officers standing right there, the young man is yelling for help and they sitting up here acting like they can't hear this man. And they had a drone that was a thermal drone so they could see the man and just allowed him to bleed out. 2 hours before they got him any help. And this is the arrogance and this is the mindset of the people in uniform that we pay for. You mean to tell me that we are hunted and we pay the hunter, yo? Stop playing. And then we won't pull together because see, here's the thing. When I be preaching that whole pull together, thing I be talking about, when we saying, yo, why are we paying taxes? Why are we doing this? What is all of this for? If y'all mean to tell me that these people are not held accountable for the people who make sure that they can feed their family. Like, how are they not being able to be held accountable for that when they got mad other things on their belt that they could use that don't involve lethal force? In order for them to do whatever they feel like they need to do, you need to serve a ticket. What you doing? Like even with Sonya Massey, I didn't hear this, and maybe somebody could help me out, but I don't know if any warrants was. Did they didn't even have the right person? Like, come on, yo. So tonight we're gonna talk to Elaine, and listen, we got Jesse little brother on in this. We look, we about to make it shake tonight. We're gonna have this conversation because, like I said, you can't tell me that this can continue. It cannot, yo. We gotta find a way for us to make sure that they understand that this can't happen. Of course, we can't. We not preaching violence. We not saying go out and find them and attack their families and nothing like that. But what we are saying is that, yo, if you feel a need that you gotta unalive one of us because you feel like you can, then yo, listen. You gotta something gotta happen for you, yo. Like you gotta be held accountable for that because you got other ways that you can use. So before we get too far, look, I'm gonna bring the fam. Now, this is what we're gonna do tonight. Y'all know it's a conversation. That's what we do in Sparking Conversation, right? So we're gonna have this conversation. But not only that, right? Not only that, we're gonna make sure that everybody that pays attention to this show tonight, I want y'all to get the information. I want y'all to jot it down. I want y'all to understand. I want y'all to come back to the videos and refer back to them, right? So when it come down to you and you getting everything that you need to get done, you can sit up here and try to at least follow these steps, if nothing else. Let's get impacted families. Hashtag impacted families. Let's get that moving around. It's election season again. Tag the senators of the state. Tag these people. Use impacted families. Let's stop not being, unified. Let's be unified. You could put justice for whoever you want as another hashtag. That's perfectly fine. But let's start using impacted families. These are hate crimes. We can no longer run off the racist thing. These are hate crimes. Things that are happening to the people, these are hate crimes. There's no way an unarmed civilian should be unalive when you have means of doing everything else you can but that. We're not playing with y'all, yo. All right, so we got a comment already. What yes he say? Yes, he said right. And the law of karma is real. That negative energy that those police officers put out will come back to them. Yo, and as much as we understand, it's gonna come back around, yo. And that's a fact right there. All right, so let me bring my guests up real quick and let them introduce themselves. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
Hi.
Hey, hey, hey. Elaine, welcome back on the platform. All right. And then Caleb, you want me to call you by Caleb or is that
No, sorry. It made me sign into my son's YouTube account. My name's Christina.
oh hey, okay, Christina. Cause I was like, you know what? None of that looked like that's her name, but hey, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I was just gonna go. So Christina, welcome to the platform. All right, so I just want y'all to do me a favor real quick before we get into the conversation. I just need y'all to introduce yourselves and tell the audience why you're on the platform this evening.
Go ahead, my dear.
Okay. Hi. My name is Christina Devitt. I guess you could say I'm an activist from Seattle, and I am here today to talk to you guys about Jesse Saray and his untimely death and murder by Officer Jeff Nelson, and about the trial that we just went through with him, with Nelson and him being convicted. I've known Elaine and Jesse's family for about the last 4 or 5 years now. And so, yeah, just here to share space, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Mhm.
And I'm Elaine Simons. I'm the foster mother of Jesse Saray. And like Christina had mentioned, we have a lot of updates from what has been going on here in Washington State and regarding former police officer Jeff Nelson. So it's kind of nice to be. I don't even want to use that word officer. I want to say, out of formality, I'll say Mr. Nelson. So,
Mm,
and just I thought it's important to bring on activists that have worked with us because we can't do it in silo. Community is very important, and as Christina has mentioned, she's been on this journey with us since arraignment. So she has watched and been part of the process. And so I thought it was really important as I start doing more talk shows and getting out in the community to bring in other key players in this movement.
Oh no, no, that's important because I think more people need to know about the support that's out there because a lot of times the word activist has a stigma attached to it, right? They always say that activists only come out when it's time for the camera and this, that, and the third, but they don't really be behind the scenes with the people when it really comes down to it. They move right on to the next and they move on to the next. But, as an activist, they have to go where they're called, right? We understand that too, but we do understand that um to have people, you know, like y'all, like what you're saying as far as the team that it takes to get these things done is important because we want to make sure that all the other parents that go through this, because Elaine, you know yourself, Christina, I'm sure you know through Elaine, she's connected to a lot of other
Oh yeah.
parents in
Oh yeah.
different states, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That they've been able to connect. That's how I even met her was through other parents,
Yeah.
through other states. You know what I mean? Like it's not even just what's going on in your state. So it's very important. So thank you for joining tonight. Okay.
If
Because
they're
I want people to know.
yeah,
No, go ahead.
the impacted family members, they have all become one family with each other. Really, I went to Washington D.C. with Elaine, and it's kind of really beautiful but sad that out of such senseless tragedies that all these families have come together and they all really are like a family and support one another. So yeah.
Yeah. No, but that's important what you just said, right? It's
Mhm.
that it takes this type of scenario in order for families to come together. And this is one of the things that I always speak about. This is where we realize that your color, as far as like how, the color of your skin, where you're born, we have reasons where we could come together and find out where that shouldn't matter or that don't matter. It's because people can't just look at a person and just tell what their family makeup is and so often we do. They look at us and then they think that, and I'm speaking for us because it happens to us, as men, it happens to us far so often. And yes, it's happening to women too at a high rate now too, which is still a problem. So let's do this, y'all. Before I go off on a tangent, because this is a thing that it hits hard because of what just happened transpired recently, right? With a lady in her own home. So let's do this. I know last time we talked, Elaine, um, you were at the point where you guys were getting ready to go through a jury picking the jury and going through all those different changes. And now you guys have come full circle. So let's do this for the people that need to know. Let's talk about the trial in this way first. Before we get into the details of the trial, first of all, going into it, what was the energy like amongst every one of you guys that was behind the scene? What was the energy like going into the trial, like going into I know when I was talking to you, you were going back and forth to going to jury and then going all that. So what was the energy like going into the actual trial?
Well, on my part, um, we had he got arrested and charged in August 20th, 2020. And so the arraignment was on August 24th, 2020. And we thought with the arraignment, we would be going quickly into a trial. And that's where
Right.
Christina first came on board. And she was, if you could see some of the shit she was doing then, we didn't know the rules of the journey. And she's like walking around with her camera inside the courtroom. Nobody was telling us not to do it. later on you'll hear some of the other stuff. But we got our arraignment. He had no bail, and that was my first time testifying in court, and also seeing at that time Officer Jeff Nelson. And so he came in, and um, I pretty much, testify that this person needs to be arrested and put into jail, and they were going to just let him out on his own. And so I think it was 10 a.m. He was arrested, put into jail. He was out by 5 p.m. onto house arrest. And then it took 4 years to get to trial. And
Wow.
so one of the things that I would say to any impacted family watching and listening, find yourself a strong advocate for your family, because it's a long journey. And when I was asked to be the advocate for the Saray family, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And so, I was talking to Christina and a few of the other supporters saying, man, I miss going to court every day, because we were going and we were so engaged. And now we're all just kind of out here like, what's our purpose now? But you mentioned something, and so did Ashley McKenzie, who brought you and me together.
Yeah,
And she
yeah, yeah,
said that,
definitely.
yeah, she said this could be a blueprint for families how to navigate. And I'm not going to sit here and say that my navigation and how I enter into this proceeding would work for other families across the nation, but it worked
Right.
for us.
Gotcha. But yeah, but see, that's the thing. A lot of people haven't even been able to get certain things to help them
No.
get this far, right? Like I said earlier, there are a lot of people who these states and they use everything they can to push people even past the statute of limitation, where they run out of time for them to even be able to get the things they need. And then when it does come down to it, they need all of this money and they need to hire all of these people. And then a lot of times they hire attorneys, and then some along the line the attorney just drop out or don't even want to continue the case, and it's really hard for a lot of people. So
Well,
the fact that you
and
guys got
just
that
to
far.
not to stop your train of thought, but you're talking about civil lawsuits. There's a very distinct difference between a civil and criminal. And so that is what happens. I've had people that to this day still thought this was a civil trial. And I'm like, have to really spell it out to them. About 1% of Americans ever make it to a criminal trial of a police officer.
Right.
1%. And so we're the first. Well, we have another family, but we were the first, as far as when the first arrest happened, that made it to criminal in 85 years of getting a conviction. The other case, unfortunately, became acquittal. The 3 officers got off. So in state of Washington, we've had two criminal cases, which is unheard of. And yet, like you said, on the flip side, the civil is a very different type of trajectory. That is where
Right.
you bring in the financial costs, hiring someone to do second autopsies, someone to look at your case and even maybe consider it. And when you were mentioning statute of limitation, that's civil. 2 years in the state
Gotcha.
of Washington. Criminal, no statute. When someone is a murderer, there's no statute of limitation. And we know that from like Ted Bundy and the Green River Killer. Those people, it took years to get them there. So I just wanted a little clarification. Anything on that, Christina?
Nope.
Well, yeah, that's why I was mentioning it, because people don't even get that far as you guys did
Oh
in
yeah,
order.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just the fact that Elaine said that. Yeah, this is the first time in over 85, 86 years that a cop has been convicted in Washington state. So, I mean, this is really like president, because it's just doesn't happen. It's not happened in almost 100 years. And so I just think like that's really huge. Like this is just, it's just a really big deal that he was even taken to trial, and even more so that he was convicted, because like Elaine said, like it's unheard of. You don't hear of cops getting arrested, charged, going to trial. I mean, it's been happening in the last couple years, but I mean, if you think about it, the last 5 6 years behind, I mean, when was the last time you heard of a cop getting charged with murder and going to trial? I mean, it just didn't that didn't happen. So I
Yeah.
think this is going to change a lot of things. um and it's going to change them in a direction that where it needs to go, where cops are going to be start to, of course, be held accountable for taking people's lives, which they should be.
I think that we
Definitely.
just came up on the 15th anniversary of Oscar Grant. And so
Yeah.
anything before that, I mean, I always say Rodney King. That is like my first time that I was ever exposed to a televised police brutality. But then you take a look at some of these cases. I mean, even some of the cases that are high profile that you
Right.
heard about, some of them never made it to even
Yeah.
their killer cops being charged. So,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, look at Eric Gardner, bless his mother, 10 years and there
Yeah.
was not a conviction. So, I think you're right though, Christina, you hit it. I think George Floyd was our next catalyst. I think
Yeah.
that brought again forward the opportunities for nationwide voices to be heard,
Yeah.
because right around that time is when we went to DC, when we started meeting other families across the nation, and we started having platforms like yours,
Right.
podcasts, ways to tell our stories to a larger audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's going to be inspiring to know that that for some people this is like light at the end of the tunnel, right? You know, justice for you guys, but the road that it took to get there. So let's talk about that road a little bit. What were some of the obstacles that you guys faced, and from the time that he was arrested and convicted up until this particular trial?
Well, I've been working on my impact statement, so I'll got to be. I don't want to, blow that open. I mean, I've rewritten it and wrote it and written it and about 50 times. That's when I get to speak to Jeff Nelson, and I only spoke to him a couple times before that. That was at arraignment when I looked at him and said he needed bail, and then one time I got stuck in the elevator with him.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that's something to prepare yourself, fam. Depending on the situation, this police officer was on house arrest. He had an anklet bracelet. And the funniest thing that happened, I get to tell the stories now because I couldn't during the trial. We were in jury selection, and right before the jurors were going to start coming in and we were going to start the whole selection process, a loud noise went off and his ankle bracelet went off, and he got up and he hit it. And that was always my question, is that thing on? I didn't know, I couldn't see it, right? And so he and his attorneys all had to run out of the courtroom. They forgot to notify his monitoring that he was going to be out of range. So
Oh wow.
I was like wishing it would go off during the trial, but of course it didn't, because then they set up that he was going to be, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 4 in this courtroom. And
Right.
so that was one of the things, these are things that happen. But back to the elevator. I'm walking into the elevator and I'm not watching who's in there. And I step in and it's Nelson and two of whoever, bodyguard, friends. And I just said, fuck it. And I just went right in. I said, floor 1, please. And he had to press floor 1 and be stuck in the elevator for me for like, what, 6 seconds, 7 seconds. And I think he was more nervous than I. I fucking loved it. I love the fact that he had to be civil inside this elevator to me. Sorry.
Wow.
It was pretty intense. But a lot of people weren't prepared. People would come in, they were very nervous. They're like, is that him? Even Colton, bless his heart, the little brother. I said, that's the killer cop over there. He goes, who? Because he's in a suit. He thought he was one of the attorneys.
Wow.
Right?
I mean, it can definitely look like it, right?
Yeah.
So when your guys, so we gotta talk a little bit about. All right, so how tell people how long the trial was when it came down to his actual the last trial that you guys just went through with him.
Were you there during jury selection much, Christina? Or did you came later?
I was there a few times during jury selection.
So, I mean, she could talk a little bit about it, but it took 15 days for jury selection.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Yeah. Jury selection was 15 days. I was there for some of it. My work schedule only allowed me to be there on 1 day a week. And then I had a month vacation, so I was able to attend the trial a little bit more towards the end. But yeah, I was there a little bit for the jury selection. And then I think the actual trial itself was like, how long, Elaine? Like a month and a half, 2 months?
Yeah. So during jury selection, which was, I think, very important, one of the things to any families out there as you're preparing for a murder trial for your loved one. And this is what I got. 2 important people in my mentorship is Sheila Banks, who was the aunt of Corey Banks Jones out of Miami, who was murdered. And they got 28 years for the guy that killed her nephew. She was one of my mentors. The other one was Uncle Bobby, who is Oscar Grant's uncle. So both of these people were my phone call. Whenever I had a question, I could call them. They could give me advice. Sheila said every time I called her and told her something happened, she's like, it was mirroring what was happened to their trial. It was like, oh my God, that happened to us too. Both of them said, don't miss a day of jury selection. Do not miss being in motions. Do not miss anything. Because if you walk in on the first day of trial and you didn't participate in all those other things, you then are walking in saying, why is his tattoos not being allowed? Why is his past prior history not being allowed? Then you are being like you're being a visitor. And I have too much gatekeeping or something. I don't even know what you would call it. So I never missed a day of anything in 4 years. Now I had a job during the motions that would allow me to go in, and sometimes they would watch my students. Sometimes it would be right during my breaks and lunch, so I could just go in. If I have the kids watching a movie, I could then turn on the internet, put on my headphones, and watch the trial while my kids are watching the movie. So I had to be involved in every step. And so I had to then take off 7 weeks, I think in total, from jury selection of unpaid leave from work. And I just had to. I'm too much of a control freak. And so that is something of advice, that is, you've got to find a way to shift and share that weight, because the jurors are what going to make your trial. And we went from 300 jurors down to 46. And then you watch the game when they start saying who they want, who they don't want, who do they excuse. And then we lost 2 alternates. After they got seated, they lost them. So we went from 4 down to 2. And that could be a
So,
mistrial. You don't have if you don't have 12 jurors, you're screwed.
so with the jury selection and the actual trial, you think it was probably about a good, what, 2.5 month situation? And with most of it being in the beginning, you would advise to families that you're going through this, like, don't miss nothing. Don't miss not one single solitary anything. And so you said something that was important. So sometimes they allowed it to be virtual where you can watch from there.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
So during COVID was our blessing in some ways because everything was virtual. So you can
That's
zoom
true.
in. In the early days of the trial, I didn't know you couldn't screenshot. So I was screenshotting everything, the courtroom, of all of us sitting together, me and Nelson next to each other. And that came back to haunt me when the actual trial started. The defense filed a motion against me saying, we want to talk about Miss Simons. And I'm like, what the fuck did I do? I'm sitting there like, innocent.
Right.
And they brought out the stack. They had printed everything off my Justice for Jesse's Facebook group and said, look what she's been doing. She's been posting this. She has pictures. And the judge looked at me and she says, Miss Simons, do you have something to say? And I said, well, nobody gave any rules.
Mhm.
You guys didn't say that we couldn't take pictures. And then I
Right.
made a joke. There's a new word I learned. You got to get your vocabulary up to par. Redact. Redact is when they remove something or take something away. And so I said, Your Honor, I will redact 4 years worth of my screenshots. So I actually had to go into my 4 years and redact all those images, but I saved them, of course. But I had to get
Right.
them off there. And they spy on you. They are all over. They come into our Facebook groups. They are like little weasels.
Yeah. They
Courthouse,
sounded, yeah.
courthouse.
Huh?
What you say?
Also in the courthouse too. We always had to be really, really careful to not speak about anything in the courthouse because there was always ears around. Like he always had his brother or his dad or his something always close to us. So we always had to like watch what we said because they were all over us, all over the courthouse too.
Wow.
Yeah, we all share the same space. Any men, you would end up in the same bathroom with him. So y'all share the same bathroom. Same with us. We shared it with the prosecutors and the defense and other people from both sides. I mean, it's an open court, and anybody can walk into that courtroom and sit down and watch anybody. So, I mean, that's public court for you.
Gotcha. So, Dag, and you know what? Y'all, you said something earlier that was important. You said that only 1% make it to a criminal trial. So, what was the catalyst that you guys think that happened that allowed this to go to trial?
I mean, I'm going to say we got the right killer. I hate to say that, but we won the lottery of one of the most. Oh, I don't even know how. I don't want to say anything because I don't know who's watching this, but we got someone that had killed 2 before. So this was his 3rd
Ah,
kill, and in 8 years serving on the Auburn Police Department. He didn't realize that the young man that he thought was disposable and who he killed had people who loved him. And that was his mistake.
Yep.
That was his mistake.
Yep.
and so he had a history already of unaliving civilians.
And that
Wow.
was redacted. None of the jurors knew about his prior killings. They
Yep.
did not know about his prior 65 assault charges. They did not
75,
know about his Go ahead, Christina. You know this shit.
75 reports of excessive force, drug use on duty, sexual harassment. I mean, he was just a really, really bad human being, just altogether. I mean, like she just said, he killed 2 people before Jesse. He had a history of sicking his canine on people to maul people. Like, he had like violent, flat out fascist tattoos all over his body. Like, he not only, like, he was proud. He was proud of the fact that he was a fascist and a murderer and an extremely violent person who had a green light to be violent and literally abuse and harm people in the community. And you think about it, and it's like, I think he was with the Seattle police for a little bit or something, but like the chief of the Seattle police was like, I think either he testified or he was going to testify against him, against all his excessive force and all these things he's been doing for years. And I think it was one of the first days of the trial, we saw a lady there who none of us really knew, and she turned out to be one of the mothers of one of Nelson's victims, that he beat her son, and she came to the trial too. So it wasn't only, I think, of course, justice for Jesse, but I also think, in a sense, it was also a little sense of justice for every single one of his victims, for every person he's killed, for every person that he has had his dog maul, for every single person that he has beat, harassed, sexually harassed, everything. I think every single person that he has harmed had felt a little sense of justice and accountability. Finally, you know.
Absolutely. And Christina hit the mark there. The 2 other former families that had lost loved ones, Brian Scammon and Isaiah Obit. Brian Scammon's daughter was 4 years old or 6 years old when her father was killed by Officer Jeff Nelson. It went through an inquest, one of the first inquests 13 years ago in the state of Washington, and it was found justified. Isaiah Obit, he was one that actually had the canine on him, plus he shot all 3 of them in the head. His second, he all then had headshots. So that was his MO.
Yeah.
But the Obits were supposed to have their inquest, but when this started, they put their inquest on hold, which was the smartest thing to do, because I believe, and I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, but with this verdict, I think that there's going to be something coming down the line with the Obit case. And then, of course, like Christina's saying, some of these other assault charges, 10 of them were supposed to testify. 10 victims were interviewed during motions. That's why I'm telling you about motions.
Wow.
Not one of those made it into the courtroom for the trial. They decided not to allow any of his priors to be permissionable and admitted during the trial. That's why I like the jurors. If you think about it, these jurors did not know about his 2 prior kills. They didn't know about all his assault charges. They didn't see his tattoos. All that was not shown or permissionable. He looked like a nice, middle-class white man sitting there in a suit. How can this guy be this horrible person that the state has to prove without a burden of doubt? And it was on the state. And that's what made it really exciting. Me and Christina got to see something else really phenomenal. During the trial, after the state presented all their experts, I mean, it was a lot of experts, and then there was the cross-examination from them. We got up to the state rest. The defense decided to then present, and I'm going to let Christina talk about the defense side, what changed in a trial that was never happened. I mean, even our lawyers were just like, what? You want us to tell them what happened?
Yeah, they had no defense. They ended up not putting on any defense at all. And
Two.
to what?
They put 2 experts on.
Oh, sorry. Yes, they put 2 experts on, and that was it. But if you think about it, I mean, I was kind of a little, so during opening statements, his attorney actually said that he was going to take the stand. She said, he's going to get up on that stand because for the last 5 years, he has just been dying to tell everybody what happened that day and how he wishes the witness would have told him that he picked up the knife, because the whole thing, well, a lot of the thing was that when he was beating up Jesse, essentially, his pocket knife flew out of his pocket, and the witness picked it up and put it on the car. But they're stating that he didn't know that. So he thought Jesse had the knife. And that's why he shot him, because he feared for his life. And his attorney said, for the last 5 years, he's been wanting to tell you guys, and he's going to get on the stand. And he wishes that the witness would have told him that he grabbed the knife. And if you think about it, like, it's another form of him trying to escape accountability, right? Like,
Right.
it's not my fault, it's the witness's fault because he didn't tell me he put the knife up on the hood. And as soon as she said he was going to take the stand, I was like, bullshit. I was like, there's no way he's going to get up on that stand. Like, there's just no, it's one of their tactics. And of course, he never went up on the stand, and they didn't even put on a defense for him. Like,
They rested.
They rested. So from the beginning of opening statements, saying, oh, he's going to get up and take the stand and in his own words tell you what happened, whatever. And then they came down to just not even, no defense basically at all. Like,
Dang.
Yeah, so on closing argument day, it was, I mean, we're kind of chopping up things here a little, but on closing argument day, they did a motion that morning. And the motion was that somebody, I like the somebody, had put up 65 wanted posters of Jeff Nelson for 2 other murders and all these assault charges on the entire garage facing the main street. And it just so
Wow.
happened that the defense lawyer saw this and they got all those taken down. We have yet to see one. I've asked, I said,
Yeah.
show me one. Let me
Yeah.
see this, because they're looking at us like we would do that. Well, first of all, I'm not going to get there in the middle of the night and climb up a ladder to put it up on some wall. I'm too old for this. And if it was a tactic done by us, shame on anyone from our camp to fucking cause almost a possible mistrial. And so
Right.
it makes us really ponder, I mean,
Yeah.
without saying who probably did it.
Yeah, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that it was a tactic from them. Because I don't know anybody who attended the trial on our side that would ever do something like that at all. So yeah, we found it very peculiar, and I believe in my heart of hearts that that was a tactic from their side, because I don't know any of us that would do something to try to wait for 4 or 5 years to get to trial, and we're finally here, and then to jeopardize it. None of us would do something like that ever.
And so the judge called out the jurors before we got to closing arguments, and she asked them, when you arrived to court this morning, did you see anything peculiar? And they all said no. And that's when I just sat there like, see, y'all keep throwing things at us. You keep doing motions that we're going to be doing something that will jeopardize this moment in time. And so then we did the closing arguments, and it was the weirdest thing in the world, because the closing arguments from the defense side was almost like non-existence because they didn't even do a defense. And they said, well, it is now the burden of proof that the state had brought forth enough information for you guys to make this decision. And then when they said, when one of our attorneys got up to do his counter rebuttal,
Yeah.
seven times, objection, objection, objection. I mean, you should see my notebooks. I have 10 full notebooks of everything that happened. I mean, I can hardly wait to do something with it. There are I mean, if I can read my own writing. But I mean, everything about it, it was just like.
Yeah. I've never seen so many objections, closing argument in my entire life. Usually it's very rare that a lawyer objects during opening and closing statements because it's not evidence or anything, right? It's they're telling you what their perception of it is. And I was absolutely shocked and just disgusted at how many times she objected. Literally 7 times she objected during a closing argument. I like towards the end, I literally wanted to yell at her and be like, stop, like, what are you I was getting so angry every time she's objection, Your Honor, objection. I'm like, dude, it's a closing argument. Like, I've never in my life seen an attorney do so many objections during a closing argument. I've never seen that in my life. It was insane.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
That's
but
interesting.
Back to perseverance and how to enter. Christina made a very good point about tactics. Okay. We're activists. Even when I'm not a foster mother of Jesse, we know tactics. We know when tactics work and don't work. But in this type of setting, we had to leave our tactics behind because we did not want a mistrial. We did not want the court. You had all eyes on. You had the jurors. You had all the guards. There must have been about 10 or 15 sheriffs and deputies throughout there. They were so bored. They thought this high-profile police trial was going to be one of the most scariest, they probably would be arresting people. I mean, everything was not what they expected because we came in and we kept the peace. Yeah. Our entire presence was very respectful. Yeah. And it was very difficult, especially for my friend here, Christina. Bless her heart. But woo, I mean, even me. I'm so glad I wear headphones and I had my own chair. Man, they treated me nice. I had my own special chair, just like they did. I didn't have to sit in the wooden things. And so I was like this little prima donna. I would walk in and my headphones would be ready with my battery pack to here and my chair, and the chocolate dish was full. No, I'm just joking. I mean, I'm telling the truth, but yeah, we just really maintained a very calmness throughout that courthouse. And we were very mindful. Like she said, one time we went down and we went around the corner and all of a sudden there's a juror there because you always want to look for their badges. Shh, gotta be quiet. Where do you talk? You can't talk in the bathroom. You don't know who's in the stall next to you. You can't talk in the elevator, Yeah.
Yeah. They say you gotta talk. You gotta go off the premises somewhere and
even
have
that
a
was hard. If we all went out to lunch across the street, you don't know if they're in the restaurant with you.
Yeah. That's right. You had to hold it down. But you did the smartest thing, which was follow every rule possible to not cause a mistrial because they was using everything they can against y'all. Now putting up wanted posters, now that's something that people would not even think about. Like, think about it. If somebody's really going through something, why would they put up a wanted poster? The wanted poster mean that there's a reward, right? That's mainly what wanted posters be, right? So they should have known better. But that's the thing about people whenever they try to attack with emotion. They know that emotions are high because the family and everybody involved want justice. They know they lost a loved one. And these people that defend these police officers, they know what these police officers do. They see the record. In order for them to put up a motion to remove something, they had to see it in order for it to be removed. So they know exactly who they represent. And the fact that they do all of these things to try to get these people to be free, knowing that these people do these things, it's just heartbreaking, right? Because at the end of the day, some of these things that happen to people, it should be a open and shut case. Because just like in your case, like even with this guy, a headshot, like even if you thinking that somebody coming at you with a knife, first of all, I always say this about people when they say things about knives. Yeah, I guess knives is a weapon you can use to defend yourself, but a person got to be too close to you to
Mhm.
use a knife, right? But with these guys, like I said, on their little Batman utility belt, they got all these stun guns and
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
So even with a person attacking them with a knife, they still have something that can overpower the knife, that they don't need the gun. And and
Yeah.
and, and so the which is the bad thing. I want to say this respectfully. I wanted to say the good thing was he was a habitual, just mean person.
User,
and it
yeah.
and it caught up with him. But it's a bad thing because of all the victims before Jesse, and it's
Yeah.
almost like Jesse's purpose. Now, no, I look. Most people will take this as an insensitive comment. I'm just saying it as a
I know
real
what you're
one,
gonna say.
right?
Jesse's about to save lives.
You get what I'm saying?
I
And
do.
thank you because like I be wanting to make sure that with the way that I think, that when I say things that I'm not looking at it from a perspective that people are not grieving the fact that they have suffered a loss. I'm thinking more so about the purpose. Sometimes
Yep.
we have to find our purpose. The way that we find our purpose is not technically the way that we traditionally might want to find it. But sometimes tragedy brings so many different people together in a way where they become a new family.
Yep.
And it's
I 100%. I always say Jesse's life is saving lives. He stopped this man from a fourth victim, another family,
Fifth.
more assault charges. He halted it. So this man, Jesse, who people fell in love with, not many
Yeah.
people in that courtroom, except for family, knew Jesse. They had to fall in love with this young man. And it's a very hard thing. In this movement, that is what we as the family advocate in any one of our loved ones is. We're trying to sell. Oh, I know all these people. I'm going to say hello to some folks. Hello, Danita. This is Danita. When you have a chance, I would like to introduce you to her. She's a mother of a community violence and lost her son as well.
okay. Yeah, definitely.
Earlier, Vanna Singh was on. She is one of my biggest supporters that has from the Khmer community and has helped us throughout this journey. And then I think the other one was Derek Clark's aunt, I think, was on there. So there's Vanna. I always say her name wrong. And there was another one before that, Derek Clark's aunt. So thank you guys. I didn't mean not to say hi to y'all, but that shows you community right there. We have
Exactly.
those are the people that helped kept us in this fight, and not anyone in this group ever met Jesse. No one has ever met him. Sometimes
Wow.
in that court, the only two people that knew Jesse as a living, breathing human was me and Jeff Nelson. Those were my hardest days when I was maybe alone in the courtroom and I look across and him and I are the only one who knew Jesse as a breathing human.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that people seem to forget. And I mean, when it come down to the side of the police officers, is that you know, as much as you may not value us as a people, or
Thank
whoever
you, Donita.
the victims happen to be, that there's people out there that really love that love them and is going to fight all the way to the end to make sure that, their names are mentioned and they're not forgotten. As much as they have to live, some of you impacted families, they the child that was unalive was their only child,
Yeah.
right? They don't get a
Ashley.
Yeah, and they don't get an opportunity to, go through the next stages of life, be a grandparent, so to actually become a family through this particular means, although, like we said, we don't want it to be the reason why people become family, right? But the fact that it does happen is very important that, everybody sticks together even when they are not. Like you guys, you actually made it to the finish line. You actually got a predator off of the streets.
Yep.
But the rest of the predators in these other cities in the other states are still out here. And some of these families are still dealing with the fact that the predator is still out here preying on other people,
And that
right?
I've heard stories where they would walk into a grocery store and the killer cop is in the same grocery store with them because they live in the same community. I mean, I could
That's
not even imagine what that would be like. I mean, how tragic, And um, it, it's just each story is so heartbreaking. In my travels across the nation, whoo, yep, Donita. Danita, I'm going to share just the name of your loved one. Her son was killed during the CHOP time, which was right around the George Floyd time. Put your son's
uh,
name, please, in your comment so they can see it.
They're not as good as they were when they first.
So, but basically, in this trial, there was no blueprint. Now, perhaps there is. When they wrote and passed the I-940, and I don't want to get too much into that because that isn't my forte, we benefited from a law that was there. There's her son, Horace Lorenzo Anderson, and he was killed during CHOP. And so that is one of our community members that was killed during the unrest of the George Floyd uprising.
Yeah.
And so
wow.
these are the people that we meet. We meet community violence families, and community violence and police violence are starting for the first time to merge. We've always been pretty separate because our trajectories are very different, but we all have lost someone we loved by
Right.
violence.
By violence. And no, I think no. I think that's a very important thing too, because that's why I said earlier and before I started the show was, these are straight up hate crimes. And as much as we would like to talk about them in any other light, that's not what it is. That's exactly what it is. These are hate crimes. But the point is, though, I think what people think is that we think that it's hate crimes just considered from the person who's actually doing the unaliving. We talking about it from in the community too. Like, yes, the police officers are just as wrong for doing what they do because they are paid to protect and serve. Like I said earlier, like the police officers are actually murdering the people who pay their paychecks. But then you have those people in the community too. I said this on a prior show. Like a lot of times, the people that are hurt you the most are the people that look like you. So we have a thing that we have to get it in everybody's mind, whether it's the police or whether it's other people out here. If you are out here unaliving people just because you feel like it, just because you woke up this morning with that on your mind and that's your agenda, you need to be held to the highest of whatever it is. And we and the people that's around need to fight. Because let's look at it from this standpoint, you guys. You guys are very brave, and I'm gonna tell y'all why. Because the police operate just like an organized crime and gang and stuff like that too. They do just as much as the so-called people that are on the streets. And when it come down to these trials and it come down to witnesses and people being scared and people doing all these other things, they have just as much to fear from those people who stick together as much as they do from the people who say they do in any type of street gang and everything else. The problem is that when people get unalive by these people, very few people will testify,
Yeah.
right? Very few people will speak up about what this person has done to them in fear of retaliation from these people.
Yep. And we
So
saw
you
the
gotta be
intimidation.
brave.
We
Yeah.
saw the intimidation in the courtroom. How many police officers we believe were brought in by the union to fill that side of the courtroom. You could tell they were cops. The
Yeah.
front 2 rows were family. We don't know really. They're not mother or father or whatever. But you know that they were more intimately involved with Jeff Nelson. But as you went further back, you could tell those were union stacked police officers. Were they personally involved with him? We don't know that answer. But someone said to me when we come to the trial, if he loses people on that side, we should fill that side up. And I believe not. Oh, hey, Nikki. This is another community violence mother. Her son, I don't know if you remember Christina at the post office killing, the young man over in the Central District that owned the post office.
Oh yeah, yes.
That's the mother of him. So these are people that I've been meeting, community violence mothers. So bless you
Right.
for being here. But I am telling my people, I can't tell everybody, I don't know who will show up for sentencing. Leave those seats empty. That will
Yeah.
speak volumes. Because
Yeah.
if these police officers now are starting to doubt their blind faith in him and we fill those seats, you just gave him that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we have control over how those seats will be filled, if they'll have an overflow court, but I truly don't want to have anyone from our side sitting on Nelson's side. We need to hold that kind of that line. And one of the things, hi, Nikki, love you, and together we will end this disease of violence. So those 2 mothers now know each other. You see what's happening?
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep getting distracted, but I love these
No.
ladies.
It's important. That's why the comments are open. And I was going to say that
Thank
earlier.
you.
Everybody that's watching, you guys can make comments. You can ask questions. You can say things in the comments. If
Yep.
you're watching this on YouTube, make sure that y'all like and subscribe because we want this message to get out and we want to make sure that you guys stay connected on when we have more shows and stuff like that. And we also going to connect with these the community violence parents too, so we could get them on so they could tell their story.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
let's all right. So at this particular
Also,
point, go ahead.
can I
Go ahead.
say something really quick too? Actually, on the day of closing arguments, there was a uniformed police officer sitting
Chief.
right behind them, police chief, which I thought should not have been allowed at all, because why is there a police chief in uniform sitting right behind Nelson? That's telling the jury that it was an Auburn chief police officer.
Yep.
Also from his department. So that is saying to the jury and basically the world, we believe in him and we support him 100%. And I also think it was also a form of jury intimidation. Yep. As well too. So why there was allowed to be a uniformed police chief sitting behind? He wasn't there the whole trial. He only showed up on closing arguments.
Nope. He was there one other time. Remember, he testified. He had a 2-minute testimony to verify police manual. That's it.
Yeah.
He didn't testify about anything else. He got up on that stage and he just was to verify the timestamp or something of police records or something.
Yeah, and then he was there during closing arguments in his uniform behind Nelson, which was, I was disgusted. I literally, like, my jaw dropped when I saw him in his uniform there. Like, yeah.
But you know what though? I don't know whether people notice or not, but whenever they do things like that, all it does is show us as the people who all is in cahoots together.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't show where, like, from their standpoint, it could show like they're doing their support, but it can also show, each and every person that is in there that comes to the trial, the people that was on the jury, anybody that's following this scenario, they could look and see if they were in court and they was watching it. You can really see all of the people who actually may be involved in their own scenarios that just haven't been caught yet. That if they stand behind a person like this, because what is it for a person who is a parent themselves? Because I know for a fact that most of those police officers are parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm sure that even the ones that gotta go in the grocery stores with the people, they probably shopping for their families, right? But knowing that they're responsible for the reason why someone else's family member is not coming home no more, who's not going to be there for the holiday, who has to be explained to their children or their little siblings about this. Like these people don't have to be a part of that. And that's why I hate it. Because whether we know the real truth behind why the police are involved with so many just blatant unalivement of people, is that who gave them the order if it's not them acting on their own? And who can tell a person that this is what you're supposed to go do today and they just randomly pick a person and that person that they pick is a person that is really involved in the community, right?
Yeah.
Like Derek Clark, he was very involved in the community. And then we have you guys that were in the Kai. Is it Kai? Am I saying that right? The community, and so and all of these different things that's happening, all these people, and then just recently, y'all know just what happened with Sonya. You know, the young lady that was just shot in her home. Like these things are happening because someone woke up in the morning that has the power,
Yeah.
right? That has the power to gain a certain level of respect and they still don't use it. They still turn that into fear. Y'all said it earlier today that this cop tried to say that about Jesse. He was in fear of his life. That's the
Yeah.
same defense that was used on every unaliving of an unarmed person, that this police officer was in fear of their life.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how many people that are gonna? What are we gonna do to stop having punk people become police officers? Right? Because you guys are, like I said, you guys are brave, right? Like because you guys went all the way through it. You went through it without fear, and you didn't let your emotions get in the way.
Yeah.
You held.
The
You
postman.
held
Thank you. Thank you. My mistake. I wasn't sure of the name of the store. I kept saying
post
the
office.
postman. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, good. No, it's cool. And we was able to get that, you know what I'm saying, corrected. But the thing is though, the fact that someone was unalive untimely, due to violence. And even me, like I just lost a cousin due to gun violence too, like 3 days ago. So
Oh, I'm
these
so
things are
sorry.
continuing to happen. And until like stories like yours get out where we're letting people know, like, hey, people are gonna fight tooth and nail. And you know what this might happen? Like you guys, they may be able to use you guys in other states, right? Because the one thing about it, Elaine, and I know you know this for a fact, that some of the parents, their case is not in the state that they're from.
Yeah. Those are the hardest cases because the perseverance of those mothers and families fighting out of jurisdiction. And we have that here locally. Saeed, he was killed here, but his mom lives in North Carolina. And
Uh,
so here you go. She lives
yeah.
there. Her son was killed here. And if it wasn't for the Black Panthers of Tacoma to keep
Oh
that
my-
case going, I don't think that she would have anyone caring about him, you
Yeah.
know? So that's another story there. And then we've got Ashley. We've got Kimberly Hardy. Her son was killed in Minneapolis. She's from Chicago. So you've got a lot of these families that are fighting, I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, it's hard enough sometimes to get people to our rallies here. And we're
Yeah.
here in this state and we don't get the same kind of numbers that you would think would show up. So if
Yeah.
you have to go out of state and try to mobilize a community from another state to care about your child who's not even from there,
Yeah.
my heart goes out to you. I mean, I can't even imagine what that fight would be like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the saddest part about it, right? Because then, you know, the one thing that I say a lot is like, yo, please, people, just because it's not happening to you don't mean that you can't support the people that it's happening to, because
Yeah.
at any given time it can happen to you, right? And like you said, mobilizing people just to say, look, I didn't know your child, but because I have a child, I'm here to support you.
Yeah.
At least to show up to look like in numbers. But that's the thing about, like the mindset that they have us in, they have people in such a divide, right? Like, people are so divided by race, they so divided by,
You,
economics and
you don't even
everything
want to
else.
have that conversation with me. I know. I know what I look like. And you know what? At the end of the day, I wouldn't stop this fight. I wasn't going to let that be a deterrent for Jesse. And I think that in itself, was very, very important. I knew when I walk in that courtroom because the jurors didn't know who I was and they didn't really know who Jesse was. So they didn't have the only images that they had of Jesse was him being killed in the fight in the video. So there wasn't, and then laying on the ground in one of the stills. So they didn't really have a sense of who is Jesse, right? And
Right.
then I got up to make my brief introduction. I was not allowed to say he was my foster son. The court decided that I had to leave the word foster out. That's why I say to everyone that ever brings me on a talk show, make sure you say foster. The reason was they did not want to create this empathy towards Jesse. And then when I got up there, the way the questioning is if I said yes or if I said no, they went on to the next question. And so I had to learn to say my opinion first before they cut me off and say, "We asked you yes or no, Miss Simons." you know, it was just like,
Right.
and I was like stressing. And so I said, "Well, what are you going to say about a brown child, 11 years old, moving in with a white woman? What the how do you explain that to these jurors? Because that's what they're going to wonder. When you say, did Jesse
Yeah.
move in with you when he was 11 years old with his brother Terrell that was living with you? And I couldn't say he was my foster son.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Right.
so I have two brown children living with me, and this is back in the time where we were afraid about runaways. And I mean, come on. I think the
Right.
jurors went right through it. I think they knew, okay, this white lady's got to be, some state sanction licensed home.
But no, but that's smart that you said that. So that way that other parents would know. Like when they get into those situations, when they do have that first conversation with them and they ask them those questions, that they should give their opinion before they answer.
Yeah, then they'll get cut off. But if you're a bio mom, bio aunt, uncle, cousin, whatever, you'll be able to say, I'm the cousin, I'm the mom, I'm the sister. So why the fuck couldn't I say I was the foster mother? They wanted me to say
Uh,
secondary mother. They wanted me to say care provider. And I said, I'm not using any of those. Those are not the legal term of those children living in my home. And so
right.
at my impact, I get to call him my foster son. And I get to say, I was not allowed to call him my foster son because that
Wow.
to me was very critical in this movement because I am his foster mom. He had a bio mom and she died during this trial.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
Right.
died during this trial. And I was never going to take away the role that his mother played because
Yeah.
she was part of me being able to raise one of her sons, Terrell, to 18 and age out. If I didn't have Carrie by my side during that entire time raising a Cambodian child, I don't think
Right.
I would have been able to get him to age out into this world.
Yeah.
Jesse, unfortunately, did not have the same trajectory as his brother Terrell. He ended up not aging out. He aged out to homelessness. Two different
Right.
trajectories.
Right, right,
So
right.
sorry, I had to get on the soapbox on that one.
No, 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 it's cool because like at the end of the day, whether you homeless or not, it doesn't give another person a right to just take your life.
That
Hmm.
We all gotta go through certain things, and then there's a lot of people who are successful, who had who went through homelessness at one point. There's a lot of people who go through things, and it makes them who they are.
Yep.
It doesn't define who they are. So even with the fact that he may not have, aged out like you said, the way that his brother did, doesn't mean that he still couldn't have turned out to be a
I
very
know.
successful person today, right?
Yep.
exactly.
Although, go
Yeah.
ahead, what you was gonna say?
No, I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're right because I was homeless and an addict for 10 years of my life. And I thankfully was able to turn my life around. And, I live at home with my two children. I work every day. I am part of a really beautiful community of people. I try to make a difference every day. And it's just so sad and depressing to think that Nelson robbed Jesse's chance of redemption and turning his life
Yeah.
around,
Uh,
because
mm,
life around and get out of the situation from Jesse. And it's just so heartbreaking that he took his shot of redemption and turning his life around.
I know.
no, 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 you're right. Mm,
And his mom carried a lot of guilt. She, she couldn't have him in her home. A lot of people would say, she failed as a mother, and she carried a lot of that guilt with her. But she had a younger son, and Jesse wasn't in the right mindset to be able to bring into that home with a younger boy that, she also had a responsibility to. And so, a lot of people give a lot of I never entered to foster care believing that the parents were bad humans. They each
right,
came with their own circumstances and situation that why the state would take them out of those homes. And it is not our place. My true belief as a foster mother was always to have reconciliation, to have the families reunited, to bring the children back into their parents' home if they could make it a safe place for them. And
right.
that I mean, I've only saw that twice. I had 28 foster children. I've only seen it twice where the children were able to successfully go back to their bio families. It's a
Wow.
very once you lose your child to the state, it is almost
Yeah,
impossible to
yeah,
change that around.
yeah, yeah,
Dang.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a harsh reality too.
Yeah, people don't want to see that. They just want to think, "Oh, you lost your child. You must have fucked up.
yeah,
It must be you are a horrible parent."
yeah,
And man, that is so unfair to pass
yeah,
that judgment. You got this, Elaine, and a lot of people behind you. Thank you.
yeah,
I don't talk about my foster care much, but that's a
Right.
stigma in itself,
yeah,
being a foster parent. But in my situation with the Saray family, I have 20-year relationship with them. It wasn't just, "Oh, the kid was in my home and the kid was out." People say, "Well, why Jesse? He only lived with you for 6 months." And I said, "Because Terrell, his brother, is my son." I always call Terrell my son. Lived with me for 10 years and aged out of my home. That was family.
Right.
And, that's the reality of it. Don't define, like you were saying earlier, what family is. And I'm so sick and tired of people defining that. It's disgusting, you know?
Yeah, I mean, no, it is because a lot of times, you have those that you were born into a family, and then you have those who you meet that become more family than the people that you were actually born into with. And you find out who your strongest supporters are is when you're going through something. You really find out who your real family is when you really are in a place where you may be at rock bottom. Everybody has a story,
Yeah.
right? You can't have a testimony without the word test in it. So
Mm.
if you're gonna go through something, right, and you gotta be the person that is the advocate for it, just like you guys, like you guys have been through your own personal journey, right, on your own battles, your own overcoming you had to do, and then you guys had to step in for another person
Yeah.
whose life is now going to be used to help all these other people whose lives that they saved from the one predator that's gone. But because of this trial happening and this conviction happening, now they can use this in other states and other places. And people now have a blueprint of what it looks like in order to keep moving forward to get these things done. To know, like you guys said, go to every single thing, every motion, every court date, every jury select. Like some people have a work schedule that won't allow them to do that, and all these other things. Or some parents only it's just them, or they don't have
Yeah.
like it's a lot of different variables that go against some people that really want to fight the legal way
Yep.
versus someone just really just sitting up here wanting to take matters into their own hand. But what we want to do is that we want to do a little bit more than when it comes down to social media. We have to use social media a little bit more when it comes down to these scenarios. Now, we do know that they will shadow ban you for certain things you say, but they don't do it for certain images and different things like that. And as well as when it comes down to trending topics. So, I explained this to people before about going viral and about a trending topic. It's two totally different things, right? A trending topic is something that all these other platforms gravitate to have something to talk about. Something going viral is something that happened in the moment. It could be a flash in the pan. It could be here for a couple of days and then it's out of here. But a trending topic is what people build their content off of. So impacted families need to be a trending topic, right? It need to be on every post. They need to have this because other platforms, not just mine, but other platforms need to get a hold of these stories, right? So these things can move around. Other platforms need to know about the perseverance of some of these parents because, you know, let's be honest, y'all. Y'all just like y'all said, it's 1%. Y'all part of the 1%.
Yep.
But it ain't
Isn't the
been
one
one. It's not.
percent
It's not 1% of killings that's
right?
happened. It's not 1% of
Yeah.
brutality that's been happening. It's not 1% of like y'all said, of those complaints about people who get excessive force used against them. That's not 1%. Right? That's 100% of what's going on to people out here. So the fact that you guys made it to that one space, let me just tell y'all, like for all the other parents and all the other people out here, this is something for them to actually stand on and be like, yo, somebody got justice.
It's lonely. I mean, I don't
A
talk
very,
to
it
people.
gotta be. It
It's
gotta
very
be.
lonely. Like I said before, I'm treated in such a weird way. You would think a lot of people would be like reaching out and loving on me, and there are people that do, but there are so many people that just hate on me. And I'm like, you know, what about this journey that you are wanting to just totally destroy? And you know I saw the love come out during the deliberation, and we didn't get to that piece because the deliberation is the final piece of this journey.
Right.
We were told that there was 30 minutes from the time the verdict would come in that we could be back at the courthouse. I live more than 20 minutes away. And by finding parking, there was no way in hell that I was going to be home chilling, waiting for a phone call saying, Miss Simons, the verdict is coming in. You need to get here. I just couldn't do that. That just isn't in my nature. If I've been through this whole trial all this time, you think I'm going to sit at home now? And
Right.
so we also had our own place. It took us a lot to find. We found our own little spot in the courthouse because everybody had spots, but we didn't have one, and we didn't want to be out in the foyer because that was just too open. So we found our own spot, and we would have people. We did a thing called a meal train. This is something else people need to know. It's a platform where people could donate money or sponsor lunch every day. So that way, anyone who showed up to court, we fed. We took good care of, and we all went downstairs and we had lunch together. We were very supportive. But during deliberation, we went upstairs. We pulled together tables and we decided to sit in the foyer because we didn't want to miss anything. We kept eyes on, making sure if we saw the defense walking by or the prosecution or something, we were easy access, because if a question comes in from the jurors, we want to be in that room to hear what the question is. And I think there
Gotcha.
were 2 questions that came in, and so we were able to be there to hear the question. And so during deliberation, we would sit out in this foyer and we would eat. The only hiccup, and it got changed very quickly, when the jurors would come back from their lunch, sometimes they're waiting, or in the morning they get there and they're waiting, and we're all in that same space together. That had to be ramified. They changed that up where they went downstairs and waited in the jury room and were escorted up, because that was too close for us. It was like all of a sudden
Right.
we had to be quiet. We had 12 jurors standing around us and we were all trying to ignore each other, and there were a lot of learning curves. And you got to remember, this is the first murder trial of a cop in this location. So
Right.
everybody was learning. So deliberation, we're eating a really wonderful Thai lunch. Christina's rushing. She's like, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. She should tell her own story on that. And we're all sitting there eating this amazing Thai lunch. And this woman comes out we don't recognize. So the normal clerk person wasn't there that day. And she came up and said, the verdict came in. And we're all like, what? What? We have 30 minutes. And we had people ready to push buttons. And so I had sent out to different people the platform for the streamline, because we knew people weren't
Right.
going to make it in 30 minutes. And everybody push, 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 push. It went out. So we were able to get it all the way to Miami and everywhere for people to sign in, saying, y'all better sign in. We've got 30 minutes. Get in. And we had to pack up our lunch and we go into the courtroom, and my chair's not there. I'm freaking out. I want my chair. I'm like the most nerdiest human. So I see my chair over to the corner. So I'm pushing my chair, and it was fucking heavy. And I was like, how am I going to get my chair over there? People were trying to help me to get my chair there, and the battery and the head thing wasn't ready because nobody was prepared, right? And before that, I told the reporter who usually sits in front of me, I said, dude, you got to move over. You're too tall. I want to see the jurors. I need to be able to see them, because the defense side, we can't, and the prosecution side, we can't see the jurors. There were all these obstacles. There was a big TV and a podium, but all that was gone. All that was removed. This is the first time we're seeing the jurors. And we sat down. I'm stressing. You can see me. And people are like, calm down, Elaine. This is probably the most time that courtroom saw my hyperness. Do you remember all that shit went down?
Yeah.
Do you want
It
to
was
talk about
hectic.
you can talk about the verdict piece, man, because you brought it home. That was when I said all emotions are allowed. I was like, this is where you don't have to hold it in, Christina.
Yeah, it was so they they told us we had 30 minutes from when they were gonna announce the verdict. And I had just got to the courthouse. I just sat down. I was just starting to eat my lunch with everybody. And then the clerk comes out and she's like, the verdict's in, we're going to read it in 5 minutes. And I was like, thank God I just got here when I did, because I would be so upset if I missed the verdict. Like, oh my God. And all of us just started like panicking, like, oh shit, like it's kept coming down. Like, I mean, 4 years waiting for this to happen,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so
yeah.
yeah, it was really hectic. It was really crazy. Everybody got in there as quick as we could. And when they said guilty, I literally, like, I feel bad now because, like, it's in the
No.
recording and I didn't mean it. But as soon as I heard the word guilty, like, my body just released like a huge cry. Like, I couldn't even control it. Like, it just came out of my body. And I was just like, and you know what? I also want to say that I could feel Carrie and Terrell's spirit in the courtroom with us when
Yep.
the verdict was being read. Like, I could really feel their presence in the courtroom with us. And
Right.
when I felt their presence, I had a good feeling. And I was like, this is gonna turn out, this is gonna be okay, because I felt their presence and I felt their sense of being there. I really truly did. And I even
Yeah, me
texted
too.
Elaine on her phone, because we can't be talking. We were separated by
Right.
somebody. And I texted her and I was like, Carrie and Terrell are in the courtroom with us right now. Like, they're
Yep.
here with us, because I could feel it so strongly. And then after they said guilty, and I actually yelled thank you to the jury as they were leaving the courtroom. And, like, I was like,
Wow.
thank you. Like, I thought the judge was going to kick me out, but thankfully she didn't say or do anything. And I didn't even really mean to, but I was like, I have to tell them thank you. Like, I have to tell them thank you, and
Right.
we ended up seeing them later anyway. But I mean, just the verdict being read, it was like, man, it was just a huge release of emotions, and just, fuck,
And
it was a
I was
lot.
holding Sonia's hand. Sonia was holding the next. Our whole row, we were all
We
holding
were
each
all
other's
holding
hand
hands.
because we
Yeah.
just felt that we had to have that kind of
Yeah.
sense.
Right.
And, you know, them ad- after they did the guilty on the first charge, we knew we had guilty on the second. It was a home stretch. And, that was the first time I actually maybe saw a little emotion over at Jeff. I just kind of looked at
Yeah.
him a little. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't much, but I think I saw just a little bit of an emotion there,
Yeah.
you know?
I think he was
And
shocked.
yeah,
You could see it because the whole entire trial, you can look at all the pictures. He has this little smile on his face. Like, the whole entire trial, you can look at all the pictures. You're going to see the same smile on his face.
Right.
And after they read the verdict, I looked over at him and you can just see in his eyes, like, he was trying to hide it,
yeah.
but his eyes were just like, you could tell he was in shock and disbelief. And his significant other too, she was like she couldn't believe it. Like, I really think they thought he was going to get off because he's so used to getting away with everything for so long. I truly think they were very shocked at
They
what the
made
verdict was.
the judge one by one ask
Yeah.
each juror on both charges, is this of your own, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the exact words, and each
Yeah.
Right.
one. And then the defense and the prosecutors afterwards went and interviewed them separately. So that was another thing that was very
Wow.
interesting, that they had to do that. And when she'll talk about what she did as far as him getting handcuffed, but I'll let you do that in a minute. Okay, you tell the handcuff story, and then I'll tell my next story. Go ahead and tell your handcuff story.
Okay, so
Your camera is
so
up. Your camera. Okay.
when he sorry, is it okay now?
Yeah,
Yep.
Is it okay now? Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
So when he was found guilty, they when they were cuffing him, I took my phone out and I started taking pictures because I was like, I was like, there's no way that I'm not gonna get a picture of him being cuffed. Like, I have to, like, I don't care if I get in trouble. I don't care what's gonna happen. Like, I have to capture this moment. I have to. And I think, like, for a split second, I think Elaine saw me and she was like, no, or something. And
I
I was
did.
like, oh,
I was like,
no,
"No."
I'm doing this. Like, it's happening. I don't care. Like, I was very respectful the whole trial and, like, you know, very cordial and everything. But I was like, no, like, I have to capture this moment. Like, I have to.
I was
And
so
I'm
jealous.
so glad I did.
I wish I got mine out.
I know, yeah.
Well,
And
yeah.
somebody else actually did too.
Well, Mike took a picture.
Yeah,
and
a
the
certain
police officer came
reporter,
up and told him put that away.
and he was like, this is for me personally. Like, he was like, this is for my personal, like, and just like I did, I was like, I need to get, you know what really upset me though, is that they tried really hard to hide him. Like, nobody got a good shot of him actually being cuffed with the cuffs on, because they put him in the corner and then, like, 3 of the guards were blocking him. But I still got the shot. I still got him being taken away. Like, and I'm so glad I have those pictures, because nobody else has those pictures. I think there's only like one picture of
The
him
Seattle
being taken
Times
away.
guy got it from a different
Times
angle.
And I got 3 of them. So,
That is crazy.
And the thing is, we did not expect that presence of the police, okay? The sheriffs and deputies. We've had hardly any. And when all of a sudden there's 2 standing at the door, there's one out in the foyer. There were so many. And we were like, what the fuck are all these? What are they here for? They're here to take us down. I mean, I didn't even understand, because we never saw them through the whole trial. And there must have been at least 12 of them, you know? And so they didn't know which way it was going to go. And so the bailiff, unknown to me, had told my advocate, because there's an advocate that's assigned to the family, that she needs to get, after the verdict is said, no matter what the verdict is, she needs to get my whole group out to a conference room. That was her marching orders. But when the verdict came through, I gave my marching orders to my group, and I said, we're going to stand, we're going to turn to the Nelson side, and we are going to give them respect and let them first walk out. That's what we decided to do. So you can see on television this woman running up to me, and I'm in my element. I've already given my marching orders to the our side, and I'm just kind of glowing. I'm just like, I can't explain my glow. And I shoot her away. You can see it on television. I was like, go away. Yeah, I was. And someone saw that on television. They're like, was that white woman bothering you? And I'm like, I never knew why she came up to me until later. And that's when she was told to get us out of there. But she says, I saw you had it under control, Missy Lane. And then, so they leave. We allow them to leave in peace. And then we're getting ourselves. And then when we walked out, we didn't expect all these cameras. There were like, it was like what you see where they're just like, ma'am. Well, I'm a bossy woman. I won't play. And I said, listen, y'all need to pack up your stuff. You need to go outside the courthouse, down by the entrance, and reset up everything. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to collect myself. And 2 of them are following me to the bathroom. And I'm like, please, I need to go to the bathroom. So then I went up to the deputy that was over there guarding. And I said, sir, what happens to the jurors? We're going to be having the press conference outside. And I don't know if, they want to be on camera. And so that's why the camera people did it away from when the jurors exit. So that way it wasn't towards the courthouse. And so we went and got my banner. People who heard about it, someone showed up with flowers and a champagne bottle. Mm-hmm. They heard it on the news and showed up for the outside piece.
Right.
And then we got this is where Christina gets to say when they came out, when the jurors came out.
Yeah, we got to see all the jurors walk out. They all came out together, and all of us were like, yeah, thank you, like justice for Jesse. And all the
Right,
jurors were
right.
like clapping and like, woo! Like it was such a beautiful moment. Like I was
Wow.
like, you guys are such beautiful human beings. Like, thank you so much. Like, that was really like a really, really beautiful, beautiful moment to see them walk out and be able to celebrate with them. That
Yeah.
like them telling us, like, we did it. Like, yeah, like, oh, it was so beautiful. It was
Yeah,
amazing. It was
that's
amazing.
amazing.
Because
Yo,
how do you get to thank them? They
right.
go
Yeah.
back into
That
their
was,
world. They're anonymous.
yeah, yeah,
And you know what? I bet every single one of them went online and they saw all this past
Yes.
history on this guy, and they are
Yeah.
probably like, "Oh, we made the right
Yeah.
decision."
decision.
Because I
Wow.
told Elaine that early. I told everybody that earlier on. I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? I'm like, I cannot. It's so unfair that they don't know anything about his past and the fact that he's a 3-time murderer. I'm like, because just imagine if they find him not guilty, and when they go home and they find out that Jesse is the third victim that he has killed, and they find all his 75 reports of excessive force, sicking his dog, mauling people, all this. Could you imagine the guilt that they would have the rest of their life,
I
knowing that we set
know.
this
I know.
3-time
Damn.
murderer
Right.
free out into the community? Like, that's how I would feel if I was a juror and I found him not guilty and I found out his past. I would be absolutely guilt ridden.
Yeah.
And I was always worried about during the trial. Like, if they find him not guilty and if they find out his past, like, how are they going to deal with that, you know? But thankfully, they got the right verdict, and they obviously
Yeah, they did the right
saw
thing.
what they did the right thing, because, yeah, he murdered Jesse in cold blood. There was absolutely no need for him to do what he did to Jesse. And like
Right.
Elaine said earlier, when he saw Jesse that day, he saw somebody that he probably thought nobody cared about, that society and family
Yep.
discarded like trash or something. And he was absolutely wrong. And the jury proved to him that he was absolutely wrong, because Jesse was loved. He had a beautiful family that loved and adored and cherished him.
Yep.
And not only that, but Jesse also acquired and basically got a whole entire community of people to fall in love with him. And so he was really obviously very wrong in his thinking that he could just take Jesse's life and nobody would care, nothing would happen, and he could get away with it again. Um, and he
And
was
then there
very
was also
wrong.
one other beautiful moment, and that's when the prosecution came out. And
Yeah.
so, prosecution was fucking amazing.
Amazing.
They were spot on. Miss Patty Eakes had style. I mean,
She
we
was
just
so
loved how she
swagged
dressed.
out. Oh my God.
Oh,
We love Patty Eakes. I'm like in love with Patty Eakes. She is like, I literally bowed to her. I'm like, oh.
and
That's the That's amazing. That's amazing. And you know what? It's good that you guys are giving these names out too, because with the playbacks and stuff like that, people will be able to go look these people up. And I mean, they all got social media handles, and people will be able to at least thank that person for having that spirit and that energy to get these predators off the street. Because, like I said, y'all, this is just starting. It's just the beginning,
Yeah.
right? This fight
Yeah.
is we still fighting as other parents who we're still trying to help get something done for. And so all of these different things are inspiration. You guys are inspiration yourselves. Everybody who y'all just called out, all of these things is going to help somebody. I want y'all all to know that. And I personally understand what it's like to be in a position where you feel like you're doing all you can and then nobody appreciates it, right?
Yeah.
But with you guys, y'all stuck in there 4 years, 4.5 years really, of just
Yeah.
constant head first, going forward, making the shake,
Yeah.
not giving up. And so that's very important, So I'm thankful that y'all came on the platform. I think Elaine may have some technical difficulty right now,
Yeah.
but this is what we're gonna do because we're gonna close the show. But what I want to do is I want people, because the name that's up here is not your name, so I want you to give people your information so
Oh
they
yeah.
can follow you and get to know who you are. So
Yeah.
yeah, you could type it in the chat as well, but you can also say it too, so people can know how to follow you and get in contact with you.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know. It's not letting me do the comments.
Okay.
But my name's Christina Devitt. Um, on Instagram, I have a public page called Christina's Comrades, and my name is spelled with a CH, so it's CHRISTINA, and then Comrades with an S at the end. And there's Elaine. And you can find me on Facebook too. My name on Facebook is Christina Val, VAL. And if you're friends with Elaine, you'll see, like, on her wall, you'll see all my postings and stuff on there too. So
Okay,
yeah,
great.
thank you for inviting me and letting me be a part of this.
Yeah,
Elaine, and
definitely.
you as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on and giving your insight and also sharing a little bit of your testimony. I think your story alone, we should have you on one day so we could just talk about your story and all the things that you overcome to be able to be an activist the way that you are. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah,
we're
I'm
gonna have to
down.
talk about that. All right. And Elaine, so this is what we're doing. Before we go, if there's anything that you want to say to the audience, any last minute words, or or if you need any information for them to be able to follow you.
I just want to tell. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to run inside. I just want to let everybody know that find the support. You don't know where it's going to come from. Christina showed such loyalty for 4 years, and you know, we're allowing people into our personal lives and our grief and our journey, and it's a big it's a big risk, but you cannot do it alone. You cannot travel silo in this movement, and there will be people that fade away, that jump off, that, like you mentioned earlier, find something new to
Right.
move towards. And you hit that on the mark when you said that earlier, that sometimes people, the next best thing comes, they run that direction and they leave us impacted families alone and vulnerable. And
Right.
that is absolutely true. There were a lot of people that I thought were going to be with me to the home stretch that were not. And
Right.
so that's just the reality. You can't judge people why they drop off because we don't know sometimes what made them away. I think one of the things is self care. Any activist or anyone that gets themselves involved in something as painful as our journey
Yeah.
need to make sure that they are loved and nourished, because you're entering into our journey and our grief. And so, to
Right.
any impacted families out there, there are going to be times where people just disappear, where you don't feel you have the support. And one thing I learned very quickly, you need to ask for help. You need to ask for
Gotcha.
support. A lot of people are thinking if you don't ask, that maybe they don't want to invade you, that they don't want to, and say, "Hey, Elaine, are you okay?" The minute you say, "I want support," that's when you will just be overwhelmed with a lot of love. And um, there was another thing you said is purpose. And that's something I'm going through right now. I'm about 3.5 weeks post verdict, and now, what is my purpose? Where do I go from here?
Yeah.
What is the gift that I'm going to give to other impacted families as they enter into the same journey? And that's where I'm now trying to figure out, what is my calling? And that's about it. Just follow us. If you could put up that little flyer that has the link to the live stream and share with your watchers, that would be the best thing
Yeah,
to
yeah, I
do.
definitely will. I definitely will for sure. And remember, along with you and your purpose, like you said, you 3 weeks post verdict, but you know, that's where these computers come in handy because these people that are fighting these things in other states and out of state and things like that, as well as creating a support group. I think that's one of the things that people need as much as they will need help with their cases is they need support. They need people to talk to. They need people who've been through what they've been through because the truth of the matter is people do fall off and they don't always have the support they need. Sometimes people do need a person just to reach out to them and just say, "Hey, how you doing today? Can I send you lunch? Can I do?" It's just little
Yeah.
things that people need. So your purpose is there. It's just like I said, some of the things is, people need to ask for help, and then sometimes we may have to reach out to people because of the way that they may be dealing with things. But either way it go, with this platform, I continue to make sure that I share and keep impacted families rolling and going. So I'm hoping that everybody that's watching tonight, that has watched tonight, or people that follow me, know that on my page you definitely are going to find different things from impacted families that you can continue to support,
Yeah.
people who need the encouraging words if nothing else. um it's out here. And sometimes that is the thing. I know some people want to do the big things because they feel like that's what really helps. But and there's times in reality where just a little thing, I was thinking about you today, hoping everything is going on.
Yep.
Do you need somebody to file a motion for you? Do you need somebody to, make a call for you? Do you need, little things like that go a long way. So
Yeah.
thank you to everybody that watched live tonight. Y'all ladies, hold on for a second. Don't go nowhere yet. But
Okay.
definitely to everybody that watched tonight, thank y'all. We definitely appreciate y'all jumping on. Make sure y'all follow these two ladies, see what they got going on, and again, you guys interact with them and vice versa. I'm sure they will interact back with you. And look, let's keep this movement going. It's a sad thing that this is the movement, but because
Yeah.
people are forcing us to have to move, let's move together. All right, y'all. Remember, hashtag impacted families on everything. And before I go, y'all know how I do each and every week. I tell y'all, remember, believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. So until next
Yeah.
week, peace.